Here.
We're here. We're there. We're everywhere. 1 second. Here we go. Live. Hello. Hello, friends. Hello.
Hello, everybody.
Do I try to make my hair look better? I don't know that I can make it look.
Well,
I'm gonna try to make it go away. Oh, hello, everybody. Hello, friends. Is that a Mauricio shirt?
no,
Or is that
no.
from
This
somewhere else?
is
Oh, is that what you got at the Disney store?
The Disney store, yeah.
Ah, well. Here, let's prop you forward a bit more.
Okay.
There you go.
And
Okay. We did it. We're here. Hello. Hi, everybody.
I just got read the news this morning.
Yes.
That Disney.
Oh, please.
Is releasing a super deluxe Blu-ray set of 100 animated feature films. That includes Disney animated feature films and Pixar animated feature films.
And it's fine.
For $1,500.
$1,500. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to yell. Didn't mean to yell. My apologies. $1,500. And look, a friend of ours made a comment and said, maybe if they were remastered in some fashion, maybe if they did literally anything, you'd go, okay, they've made this special whatever, but they didn't. They legit were just like, we're gonna put a bunch of movies together and then ask for your money. I was a word you like when I use, gobsmacked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In other news, the El Capitan Theater, Disney's El Capitan Theater,
which we love,
we love here on Hollywood Boulevard. Yep. The week of September 24th is doing a animated Disney classic a day. Yeah. For 7 days, covering 7 decades.
Yes.
Beginning with Pinocchio for the 40s. I think Alice in Wonderland is the 50s.
It is Alice in Wonderland.
Sword in the Stone for the 60s.
Yeah.
Your favorite Robin Hood for the 70s. And the rest.
And Hercules is one of them, because I love Hercules so much.
And they're going to show the short subject, which is not to be missed. I don't know where else they're going to show it.
Yeah.
Called Once Upon a Studio. And I don't want to tell you very much about it. I'm not being coy, but it's a celebration.
You should just see it.
You just have to see it.
It's one of those things. You should just see it. But I ask you, humans of the universe, would you pay $1,500 for this? Some people will, obviously.
Now that's the retail price.
Yes.
So, you know.
So what?
So
it'll tell you something right now. Yeah. You know what's expensive to me? This is $9. That's expensive to me. $1,500. Thank you. Nick says only if Maltin were involved. Man, I don't know. I feel like it's one of those things where part of it is because most collectors will already have this.
Yeah, anyone serious enough.
Like, if this is what you love, you're already going to have it. Now I'm looking at it online, and the packaging's, I think the packaging's underwhelming, honestly.
It says it's going to be in 3 sections.
Yeah, I see.
Self-standing.
I see it. It's kind of unattractive. I'm sorry that I'm doing this where you can't see it. It's white. This is not the way for me to show you this. I can't really show you. But if you look up online, this new thing, they look a bit like Star Warsy. They really do actually look very Star Warsy.
They do.
That's odd. I'm sure they have some neat stuff. Disney to release 100 animated classics in one big Blu-ray disc box set November 14th. The average retail price is $1,500. Bambi, Snow White, Seven Dwarves, Sleeping Beauty, blah, 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 blah. Limited number of sets will be available for advance order on Walmart.com beginning September 18th. So even though it's released November 14th, you could get it September 18th if you want to fight for it. I don't know. Would you buy it? Would you buy this? That's my question. Because as I say, people will, but not us. we will not be one of those people. Lee, Daisy is doing very well. I just sent her off to the shops with Scott. So here's hoping they both make it back. Yesterday, Daisy has just recently started playing with markers and crayons and colored herself orange yesterday. And I mean like colored herself orange. I've realized that I think she thinks that I draw on my tattoos. And I think that she was taking the marker to do that. And my husband also has tattoos. So I have a feeling that she was trying to emulate that. Or she was just trying to make me crazy. One or the other is entirely accurate. Frank's saying, hopefully there won't be any fiascos like the Criterion Citizen Kane discs. I mean, there shouldn't be any issues because none of this is new. None of the discs that they're like, they haven't made it any nicer. They haven't made any changes. So in theory, it should be fine, I guess. But woof, if I may, woof. Best just watching it on Disney Plus. Yeah. I don't know. It's just, yeah, Disney, no, thank you. Yeah, all that stuff. William's saying the El Cap used to be my favorite movie theater, but when they started telling me I had to be frisked, scanned, and empty my pockets to enter. Well, this is the thing. We love the El Capitan. I love that it's a real theater with a real experience. It depends on what's happening. They do usually have majiggies you have to walk through.
Metal detectors.
That's the thing.
That's why I'm here.
Yeah, they usually have that, but I've never found them to be aggressive or anything. I think they're just trying to, especially because there's so many kids, I think they're just trying to keep things safe. I love it. I absolutely love it. Hopefully there won't be, exactly. I know everybody's sort of pointing out the different stuff that did go wrong. So we were in Telluride. We missed you last week because we were in Telluride, Colorado, and
at the 50th anniversary.
Yep.
Film festival
of Telluride. And
Alice and I were there for the 4th.
Yeah.
Year, and I think it's the 4th year. 1979. Anyway,
I wasn't alive yet, so I can't tell you.
And if you've ever been there to ski or on a trip to Colorado, you don't pass through Telluride.
Yeah,
you have to be going there.
You don't get to Telluride by accident.
It dead ends. It's what they call a box canyon.
Yeah.
A terminology that when I was living in New York had no meaning to me whatsoever.
It couldn't have meaning. It's a very special place. We love going, and have gone most of my life, many years for you and most of my life. And then when I got married, Scott, my husband, started coming, which was kind of surreal. The idea that my husband was going with me to a festival I've been attending since I was a baby. And then now I get to take my child to Telluride, which also seems very surreal. What it means in my case is I don't get to see any movies. So it is a bit strange to be there and not get to watch movies. But it's sort of it's so much fun to be there anyway and to see all of our friends.
Yeah.
And I love listening to everyone talk about what they're seeing. It's educational in that sense. You get to hear everybody talking about the different movies. You and Mommy did make it to 4 or 5, I think, something like that. My parents are having a tougher time in Telluride now. The elevation is real high, and breathing there is difficult.
8,600 feet.
Yeah.
And if you go up the gondola, if you take the gondola right up to Mountain Village, it's 9,500 feet above sea level.
You know who seemed to have no problem? Daisy. Running around everywhere. Me, can't breathe. Running behind her like, my child, this is fine. Chaos. But yeah, you guys saw.
Well, we saw Alexander Payne's The Holdovers.
Yes.
Which is a wonderful movie.
And got a lovely reception.
And I was so excited for him because it got a great reception at its first screening and then subsequent screenings.
Yeah.
And nobody deserves that more than Alexander, who we've come to know.
Yeah.
And
I'll say it. He's a friend. I will say it. He's a friend.
So we're in his corner. We're rooting for him.
Yeah.
And the film is going to be released on a platform basis, late October through November. And it's one to look forward to. Stars Paul Giamatti and Divine Joy Randolph, and a newcomer in the central role.
Yeah.
And it's really good.
And people liked it, which makes me so happy.
And then another of my favorite contemporary filmmakers, Jeff Nichols, has a film that's also quite good called The Bike Riders.
Did you see him at all?
I
walked past him at the photo, but I couldn't.
At the photo,
I didn't get to talk to him.
mouthed to him, "I love your film."
Yeah.
And he thanked me.
Yeah.
But I didn't really have to have a chat with him.
Yeah. You saw that and you really liked that a lot.
Yep.
Jeff Nichols in general, I would say Jeff and Alexander are probably two of your favorite current directors.
Yep. And they are writer-directors.
Yes.
Although Alexander did not write the screenplay of this.
Yeah.
Officially.
Yeah. But the thing is, in both cases, I think even if you don't love the film, whatever the film may be, it's still worthwhile.
Yeah.
You know how there's some filmmakers, just like there's some actors where even if they're in a movie that's not great, it's worth watching them.
Yeah.
I feel like with both of those gentlemen, it's still worth your time, even if at the end you didn't love the film.
I like their sensibilities.
Yeah.
I relate to their,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
the way they see the world.
Lynn is saying Paul Giamatti. She loves Paul Giamatti. Paul Giamatti, I feel like Paul Giamatti and Stanley Tucci have finally gotten to a place where people are just like, yep, they're great. They work and have worked for such a long time, but they're both pretty quiet. They don't live outlandish lives. They sort of just exist as character actors, and they're both so good in everything they do.
Your mother and I are watching Billions.
Yes,
on Showtime.
Which Paul Giamatti is on.
It's still called Showtime when you turn on that particular series.
What's it supposed to?
Paramount Plus. It's being folded into Paramount Plus.
This whole mishegas with this stupid everybody buying everybody a kid. And then you saw a movie I really, really, really want to see. Poor Thing.
Poor Thing.
I really, really, really want to see it.
The most talked about movie.
Yes.
In Venice, apparently.
Yep.
And then at Telluride.
Yep.
And I suppose it's going to Toronto.
It must be. They all are playing the game.
This is the new film from Yorgos Lanthimos.
Yes.
And it stars Emma Stone and Mark Ruffalo and Willem Dafoe and Rami Youssef and some other folks I'm forgetting. But Emma Stone is sort of it's a showcase.
Her eyebrows seem to be the star of the poster. I don't know if you've seen the poster, but there's a lot of eyebrow going on.
Somebody reported, it was rumored that she was there in Telluride.
Yeah.
There are no actors there, virtually no actors there. No actors there because of the continuing strike.
Yes.
The SAG-AFTRA strike.
Yes.
The actors are forbidden to promote their current movies.
No. You're not supposed to promote anything new.
Yeah. So there was a rumor that Emma Stone was there, and I borrowed an old joke and said she may have been there, but people didn't recognize her with her clothes on, because in Poor Things she's naked a whole lot, and
a whole lot,
and I mean graphic sex scenes, the likes of which.
Yeah. Yet another one I'm happy we didn't watch together.
Yeah. But they're purposeful.
Yeah.
They're leading someplace.
Yeah. Well, there's a number of articles that talk about both her and Jennifer Lawrence talking about how both of them have had films where it's very like frank, blunt nudity that they were okay with because it made sense.
Right.
And they were just sort of owning their bodies and owning the moment, which is interesting. Doug is saying, is Telluride like Sundance in that there are people landing distribution deals and such? No. So
there were several films there that are seeking distribution.
Yeah, but that's not generally, if you're going to get acquired, probably not there. Though it may start the conversation.
Right.
The difference of, so when I was younger, a lot younger, Telluride, when we'd see a movie, we didn't know if we would ever see it again.
Right.
If it would ever get distribution, or if it would ever be in our country. And so part of seeing stuff was that you went, oh man, I hope I see this again. Or I hope, even, you know, when you would write your articles about going to Telluride, you'd talk about some of the films saying, I hope you guys can see them one day.
Yeah.
The massive change and difference now is that the majority of films being shown have distribution.
Yes.
They're also almost always, not always, but much of the time playing Venice and or Toronto after the fact. So it just sort of changes everything. The term I use, it changes. You don't feel that same impetus to see things.
Yeah.
You know,
it's where a movie now gets launched.
Yeah.
To use the industry terminology.
But it's, you know, like my mom had said to me, if there was a movie that Scott and I really wanted to go to, she'd watch The Baby for us. And Daisy was having some trouble with the time change and travel and all the rest of it. And she was not herself and quite difficult while we were there. And when she's like that, I don't like to pass her off to my parents, because to me, it just doesn't seem like a very nice thing to do. So I opted not to ask to see anything. Primarily because the movies that interested me most all had distribution. So I know I'll see them. So yeah, it's there are a number of films that are smaller that sometimes don't have distribution, but again, still have, like when I saw Marcel the Shell with Shoes on there, it didn't have distribution yet, but it played all the different places and then was picked up by A24. So, you know, that's the tricky thing. Evanier is asking if Daisy is reviewing movies yet. In her own way, you know, in that she'll walk away from something. I count that as a review.
Her first Betty Boop cartoon, she watched approximately 4/5.
Yeah, most of it.
That cartoon.
Most of it, which I think is a solid amount. I'll take it. I think people didn't believe movies like Poor Thing would be made anymore. It would have been difficult for an American filmmaker to pull off. Yeah.
Yeah, probably so.
You know, so much is changing now. And I think that that's really, it's an interesting conversation. What filmmakers are trying to do, what makes news nowadays.
Yeah.
All of that. You did not see the Almodovar short.
No.
You didn't see Rustin. You didn't see Wildcat or Naiad. So none of those.
And
though I have watched multiple documentaries about Diana Naiad. So I wasn't necessarily desperate to see that one because I have seen so many of them.
I'm interested in all of them. Mm-hmm. And Telluride is a festival of frustration. Because
welcome to the Festival of Frustration. Because
at any one time, at any given time, you could be choosing from among 7 or 8 screenings.
Yeah.
And it's hard to juggle. It's hard to know. For instance,
but that's why you chose the old films.
Yes.
Because as we're talking about,
I went to see 2 films in presentations that will not be repeated.
Yeah.
The films may be shown again, but our old friend Paolo Kerchi-Usai represents the Pordenone Silent Film Festival every year at Telluride. And this year presented a new or fairly new restoration of Todd Browning's The Unknown, starring Lon Chaney and a very young Joan Crawford. And I hadn't seen the film in ages and ages. I remembered it pretty well, but there's 15 minutes that hasn't been part of the prints that circulate. And Donald Sosin was there to accompany it on piano, and he did a beautiful job, as he always does. Mm-hmm. So it was fun to watch that in the Sheridan Opera House, which is the little jewel box of a theater that actually inspired the Telluride Film Festival. It was coming upon this jewel in the rough
Yeah.
That inspired Bill and Stella and James Card, and then Tom Luddy,
Yeah.
and then Bill Everson to have the festival.
And then you saw another film
then we
at
saw-
the Galaxy.
Then we saw a 1929 Russian movie called My Grandmother, which was banned in Russia for 50 years. And it's a very blunt satire of bureaucracy, political bureaucracy. And it was accompanied by a group from Finland called the Cleaning Women.
When I read this description, I thought it was a joke.
No.
It was not a joke.
No joke, except that it's 3 guys.
Yeah.
Not females.
No.
And who play handcrafted instruments made up of household knickknacks and utensils. Fun to look at, fun to listen to for a while. Then the score became somewhat repetitive.
How many sounds can a broom make?
Very percussive.
But that's also, I mean, you chose those films, as you often do.
Yeah.
Because again, you don't have to get in these films.
I'll see Rust.
You'll see Rusted.
Movie.
You'll see all these.
Yeah.
Now, Wildcat is the one that was Ethan Hawke's, right?
Right.
And he directed it and wrote some of it. His daughter stars in it and is one of the producers, and Laura Linney's in it.
Yep. It's about the author Flannery O'Connor.
Yep. And the 3 of them were there. So Ethan Hawke was there, Maya Hawke was there. The reason that they could be there is because, as I say, Ethan is the director on it. He's covered there. Maya is a producer, which is why she could be there. And this is where you get into these crazy kind of semantics that are confusing. Laura was there. Laura Linney was there because some years ago, she married one of the guys who has worked at the film festival for 30 years, something like that. So she is now a part of the film festival family. And we love seeing her. She's just...
And their 9-year-old son.
The craziest thing about seeing Laura is that she is possibly one of the nicest people I've ever met. She's so kind. And then you remember she's Laura Linney. And you go, oh, you're also one of the greatest actresses that we have. So it always kind of blows your mind, you know. There too, Daisy at one point was playing with Ethan Hawke. And I'm just like, life's not real. Life's not real right now. Daisy is running into Ethan Hawke's leg. Things are weird.
One of the films that is seeking distribution, apparently, that I had wanted to see was Daddy-O, which has an interesting pedigree. It stars Sean Penn and Dakota Johnson. Dakota Johnson is also one of the producers.
Which is why she could be at Telluride this year.
Yes, in the role of producer. And she walked the script up Malibu Beach to hand it to Sean Penn.
As one does.
Who agreed to appear in it, to co-star with her in it. And my old friend and colleague, Todd McCarthy, who now writes for Deadline, but wrote for Variety for decades.
A million years.
Said he thinks it's the best thing Sean Penn's ever done. And I trust Todd. I trust his opinions.
Yeah.
And so now I'm really eager to see the film and to see that it gets released.
Yes. But again, that's what I mean is it's a film that's got those 2 people backing it. The odds of it getting released are quite high. How long it will take, that we don't know.
Yeah.
It will probably be, I'm about to say it could probably be next year, but then again, who knows? We'll see what happens. It is, as this all goes on, I talked to so many publicist friends in Telluride, and I don't think the strike is coming to an end anytime soon.
Well, it was very telling. Earlier this week, the Academy.
Yeah, they moved.
Which was having an event. They're now calling them the Governor's Awards.
The Governor's Awards.
In November.
And they moved
it to January. And that says everything.
Yeah.
That says everything.
We are in this for the long haul. Depressingly enough, we are in this for the long haul. I Yeah. And this is what was so tricky. And this is what is so tricky with the different film festivals. Is that a number of the actors, there were not very many actors there, but as I say, you had Dakota Fanning and you had a few folks.
Dakota Johnson.
Dakota Johnson, sorry. You had Dakota Johnson and a few other folks. And, they were really nervous about getting in trouble. And so they didn't do much publicity. Tellurite's not a big publicity place anyway, but people were careful because everyone's afraid of getting in trouble or doing something wrong. And that's also really, really tough. And I can't imagine as an actor, you work on something you love and it's coming out and you're not allowed to tell anybody anything. Yeah. You're not allowed to promote it. And because they're not allowed to put it onto their social medias. They're not allowed to do anything. And that has to be really hard.
Yeah.
Especially considering how long, depending on the project, how long you could be working on something. It could really, there are jobs that are just jobs, and then there are jobs that mean a lot to you. And I just think it has to be incredibly tough to be put in that situation. Ryan has 2 questions. The first being, who's your favorite in the Fleischer cartoon book? Who's your favorite Fleischer cartoon character?
Do I have to pick one?
Apparently.
If I have to pick one, I'll pick Betty Boop.
That's a solid one. We do love Sweet Pea. And Pudgy.
Oh, yeah, I like
too many. There's too many, I think. What's your favorite? And then he's asking about the Charlie Chaplin behind us. He's saying, do you have a large collection of Chaplin merchandise? You do.
I wouldn't call it large, but
well, no. It isn't. You don't seek it out.
It seeks me out.
It finds seeks you out. Yeah, it finds
that. You. That doll was purchased at Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey Circus when they were playing at Madison Square Garden in New York City, approximately 1976, 77, because Alice and I were still somewhat newly married in 1975. And we went to the circus, and it was either $10 or $15, something like that. And I said, what a great likeness. It really caught him. And I was telling a friend about it, and we drove down one Saturday afternoon and found out that we could get into Madison Square Garden, to the outer ring,
just to buy the merchandise,
just to buy more. And I bought a couple more and gave them as gifts for a while.
Funny. Only you. Have we ever met Leon Vitali?
Oh, yes, I did once.
Yeah.
Once. I'm so glad that somebody made a film about him and his long relationship with Stanley Kubrick.
Fascinating person. What's your favorite Sherlock Holmes film with Basil Rathbone?
Well, it's of the first 2, the A movies that they made 20th Century Fox, The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes would be my favorite. And then from the Universal series, I think Terror by Night. I just love watching him and Nigel Bruce. They're just, great.
What's not to like? Shannon, I like your question. Now that Jesse Maltin is more known in the industry, have people stopped thinking that Leonard Maltin and Jesse are a couple? Nope. Still happens. Still happens. People are weird, and I've given up trying to explain that they're wrong. My thing is, we look a lot alike, my dad and I. I realize it's a bit hard to see at times, what with the hair, the makeup, whatever, but we look a whole heap alike. And I really like the idea that Leonard is dating someone who looks so much like him and also looks a bit like a rainbow cartoon character. Michael saying, speaking of Betty Boop, I know you're a movie guy, but have you heard of this new Betty Boop musical opening in Chicago? And are you interested in seeing it? My friend is the milliner on that show. She's making all the hats.
Take that.
So, yeah. I hope it's good.
Of course, we're interested.
Yeah.
And of course, we're hoping it is good.
Yeah. I told you Anne's working on that.
Yeah.
I was amazed. Did any of Mr. Maltin's Entertainment Tonight reviews ever land him in trouble with publicists? Not trouble. People don't like if you don't like it, but not trouble.
No, never. never trouble. Although Barbara Streisand's
Yeah.
long-time publicist,
was good.
Lee Salters, was so peeved at my review of Yentl that he used it as a battering ram, and essentially told my bosses that they'd never get an interview with Streisand, which wouldn't have happened anyway.
Yeah.
Never get an interview with Streisand because of that review.
Yeah. So not in trouble, but obviously people don't love if you don't love something. Did you see anything avant-garde or surreal in Telluride?
That Russian film.
That, and probably Poor Thing. I mean, just in terms of something that sent you both going,
Yorgos loves his fisheye lens. Maybe a little too much.
One second. Did you like the Peter Chung interview? Oh, I have not. Well, I'll be honest. I have not watched. I'm a bit overwhelmed with Daisy and work, and I don't really get to do much. Without naming names, have there been any celebrities who were upset to have Daisy around? Oh no, I didn't say Bogdanovich didn't like children. No, all I talked about was how funny it was when our dog tried to jump on his lap, and his response was, "Hello, dog." No, I have no idea if Peter Bogdanovich liked kids or not. In terms of people not wanting Daisy around, the only time I've had it happen, and it wasn't an actor or actress or anybody, it was a makeup artist at an event who didn't like that Daisy dropped a strawberry on the floor. And it became a discussion because she was like, "I can't believe you're letting her do that." One strawberry on the floor. And I just kind of looked and I went, if that is what's stressing you out today, then I don't know what to tell you, because So no, in general, also, we're very careful with her. I don't let her go places. I don't let her get in the way, because my feeling is she's no one's problem but mine. So yeah, I don't take her where she can be bothersome to people. That's not my idea of a good time, and it's not very fair to others.
Skip over that next one.
Okay.
Skip over that next one.
Okay. Yeah, Leonard the Cradle Robber. Yeah. No, I'm kidding. Victoria says Leonard the Cradle Robber. Actually, if you recall, Alice is the Cradle Robber. My mother is the Cradle Robber. Logan, come here. Come here, bear. Come on. Logan is singing for you. What you doing? Come here. Dogs.
Oh, those dogs.
Dogs. Someone here?
Maybe Christine.
Maybe Christine. There you go. Maybe Christine. Letting her. Yeah. Well, but this is the thing. As I say, I really do believe that when it comes to your kids, as I say, the only person who should have to deal with them when they're being a menace is you. And so if we're at a restaurant and Daisy's losing her mind, we leave. If even in Telluride, when we were out and about, if she was getting crazy, we took her home. Like, it's just, that's all I can really say. Speak of the devils, they just came home. My question for you guys today. Hi, baby. Hi, baby. Did you go to the store? Hi. Yeah? Just wait 1 second, okay? Wait 1 second, silly. The question today is, what films are you guys looking forward to? Hey. Hi. Hi, can you give me 1 second? I know, you're trapped. Sorry. I'm wondering, did any of you ask? I don't think any of you actually answered my question. The nerve of you. Really looking forward to the fall and winter releases of 2023, when the studios release the movies they hope will get Oscar consideration. Oh yeah, always. It's always interesting to see what people think, what they want to push for award season, what they feel matters, which performances they think could get nominated, all that kind of stuff.
Right. Thursday night.
Hi.
Thursday night in my class at USC, we screened A Haunting in Venice.
Yeah.
The third latest Agatha Christie adaptation, starring and directed by Kenneth Branagh.
Mm-hmm.
And my guest was his producer, on all 3 of these films, who it turns out was his manager. She was a talent manager for 25 years or more. And I think she said she's in her 60s. Very bright, very engaging woman.
Yeah.
Who at different times managed Sally Field, Kevin Kline, a very impressive list. And when Branagh was offered the first Murder on the Orient Express by Fox, there's no Fox anymore, by Fox, he called her up and said, I want you to produce it. She said, I've never produced anything. He said, you're a quick study.
You'll figure it out.
You'll figure it out. And she has. And
rather successfully.
Yeah. And this third one, they were told they had to trim the budget. And try to, tighten the vehicle a little bit. So they did shoot in Venice for 2 weeks, and the rest was on sound stages in England. And but she's very proud of the casting, and it's an interesting cast. Tina Fey plays a mystery writer who is sort of Hercule Poirot's foil in the story, and she's good, and no shock there. Kelly Riley plays a person of interest in the murders, and Michelle Yeoh.
Because why not?
Colorblind casting, as they say, as a medium, whom Monsieur Poirot, of course, is out to debunk because he doesn't buy any of that nonsense. And Jamie Dornan and Jude Hill, who played father and son in Branagh's film Belfast.
And Jude Hill is so good.
Yes, he's
one of those kids. It'll be really interesting to see sort of what he grows into as a performer.
Yeah.
Victoria, his review of Golda is up on his website. It went up 2 weeks ago or something like that. If you want that review, you liked it.
Yeah.
And she's, it's the reason Helen Mirren's Helen Mirren. She's great. Looking forward to Beyond the Spider-Verse whenever it comes out. Is that the animated one?
Yeah.
Is it? It came out in theaters already. You mean it's like at home? A couple of people said Wish.
Yes.
Which we're looking forward to, and looking forward to supporting Amy Astley in that. Fingers crossed it's good. I'm looking forward to Priscilla, Napoleon, Ferrari, Poor Things, The Holdovers, Dix, the musical, and Anatomy of a Fall. Yeah.
Some of those were in Telluride. Some of them have yet to be screened.
Saltburn.
All of them interesting to me.
Yeah.
Alice and I did get to see Emerald Fennell's new film, Saltburn.
And it was very interesting to listen to everybody. It had such mixed reactions.
My reaction was not mixed. I didn't like it. I didn't like it, and it went on too long.
Yeah.
2 for 2.
Which seemed to be that's the one complaint even the people who liked it felt, was that it was too long of a film. But that was getting a lot of attention for sure. And then this is what I mean about
how it and one of the other films we saw, perhaps even Poor Things, were shot on motion picture film.
Yeah.
Kodak film.
Yeah.
And Emerald Fennell's film was also projected in the old-fashioned 1:3 aspect ratio, like an old movie. Why she chose that, I don't know, but she did.
She could, so she did.
Yep.
It's always interesting, right? So going into this 2-ish week period where it goes Venice, Telluride, Toronto. So you've been hearing, and in some cases you've been hearing since Cannes, since May, about certain films, and they're pushing and they're out there. Saltburn went from people going, oh, I think it's really, it's going to be one of the really, really good movies and people are really going to be into it. And by the end of Telluride into Toronto, a lot of that chatter stopped because it had such mixed reactions. And I just find that fascinating. At the same time, something like Poor Thing, which was getting that buzz going, is now hitting its stride where everyone's saying, even if you think it's strange, it's good. And so that is it's kind of rising a little bit more. So I just find that.
One of the
Beyond the Spider-Verse is the conclusion of the trilogy of the spiders. Yeah. Can't wait for that one. Just hope it's good. It's how we feel about all those Marvel films. Is I just want them to be good.
And Killers of the Flower Moon, of course, is automatically of interest because it's made by Martin Scorsese.
Yeah.
So it goes without saying.
Yeah. Somebody mentioned the new Coppola film, which is also it's a funny time of year because I just sort of wait to hear what everybody starts reacting to.
Yeah. The best part of being at Telluride is seeing films early before they've been talked about to death.
Yeah.
Before everything's been given
picked
away
apart and
pro and con.
Yeah. It's I love listening. I love going to film festivals and just listening to everybody in line and hearing them talk about what they saw and what they were impressed with or what they thought was terrible. Just because it's not, you just never know what the reaction's going to be. You can set something up, a director people love, a cast people are really into, and if a film doesn't work, it just doesn't work. At the same time, you can have a really small film that people are just starting to try to get word of mouth out. And by the end of, again, these 3 festivals, people are talking about someone. It's a name you've never heard before. Yeah. And suddenly there's buzz. And of course, the difficult thing right now is that means this buzz has to hold its own until February.
Yeah.
And that's where it gets tricky. So, it's the good and the bad, right? And we always talked about before, it's also really hard because you have to, you don't want everything given away.
Right.
So, we talked about how we saw Slumdog Millionaire in Telluride. And we saw it as one of the very first surprise screenings.
Its first U.S. screening.
Yeah. We got to see it. And so we saw it knowing absolutely nothing and loved it because it was so different and interesting and all these pieces.
The audience went wild at the end. And Danny Boyle had flown with the print from Venice.
He carried it.
Which is some schlep, let me tell you.
And the idea that, you're seeing this movie and you're discovering something, it's so exciting. But by the time Oscars had come around, / all the other award shows now, people were saying, well, I didn't think it was that great. I didn't think it was anything special. And this happens without fail. We got to see Argo.
Yep.
I think that one was the very first. I think they premiered that there, and Ben Affleck was there with it. And to see that movie, which I think is excellent. I think Argo is an excellent film. Again, you're watching it knowing nothing.
Yeah.
And just sitting down.
I love that. I love going in cold. One of the best films I did see over the weekend is a documentary. I don't know what kind of life it's going to have. But it's called Tehachapi. It was made by the artist known as J.R. Whom we met.
Yeah.
And you sat next to for a plane ride.
Going to Telluride.
J.R. collaborated with
Agnes
Varda on her last film, I guess.
Yeah.
Called Faces, Places.
Yeah.
And, which is a wonderful little film and a very disarming film. And the only person I can compare is maybe Banksy or Christo.
Yeah.
Artists who do event installations, let's call them.
Yeah.
And you could look them up and see it makes more sense than to describe it.
Yeah.
But anyway, he went to Tehachapi State Prison here in California, which is a maximum security prison. And he got permission to go and commune with these criminals. I'm trying not to use cliches. To call them hardened criminals. They're hardened because they've been in prison for 15 to 20 years already. most of them committed their crimes very young.
Mm.
Some of them are resigned to their fate. They're going to spend the rest of their lives in jail. And some of them are not. Some of them feel that they've changed and that, they want a second chance.
Yeah.
They'd like to be given a second chance. JR went in and said, I want to enlist your help on a project. And the project was, they have a yard that, let's call it like a football field, kind of a coliseum type of setup with a giant yard where they exercise and walk around and do whatever they do. He filled that yard with a gigantic photograph, a photograph that was his collage of their faces. And it is so moving watching these guys become engaged with the process itself. First, his photo is printed in strips, long strips of like wallpaper. And then they have to use big brushes like a wallpaper hanger would on a big project. And when they create it, you can only really see it properly from a drone or a helicopter. And you do in the film. And suddenly they become human beings. And as you start to hear their stories, you can go to JR's website or his app. He calls it an app, and see more. If what I've said is of any interest to you,
yeah.
But the film is really good.
So the year he was in Telluride with Agnes Varda, my seat was supposed to be next to Gary Oldman on the plane. I'm walking towards my seat and I look at the number and I realize I'm supposed to sit next to Gary Oldman. And I begin having what can only be described as a panic attack because I'm going, I can't sit next to Gary Oldman. I can't sit. Are you kidding me? I can't sit. I'll have a fucking heart attack. I can't sit next to him. I can't do that. No. And as this is happening, Pierre Risson, wonderful, a Telluride family member, who's since passed, someone very special to my dad, an amazing man. He was getting on the plane and his seat was further back and I could see that he was having some trouble. So I gave him my seat and I said, where are you sitting? I'll just go sit in whatever seat you're in. So I took his ticket and that sat me next to JR. And JR had never been to Telluride before. He was really not that familiar with film festivals in general at that point. And so we spent the 1.5-hour flight talking and I told him all about Telluride and we talked about his film. And I said, I didn't know who he was. He told me he was an artist and he said, you should follow me on Instagram. I said, sure. Well, the plane lands, I turn on my phone, I go to follow him. He has 1 million followers on Instagram and he is this extremely well-known artist in the vein that he's in. And then we got to see him the next few months as he was doing all the promotion stuff for Faces Places with Agnes. And he's so nice. He's so genuinely nice.
Yeah. There's no cynicism in him.
No. But you can also see how he puts people at ease.
Yeah.
And so because he takes so many photographs of people, you can see how he gets what he wants out of the scenario, if that makes sense. If you sat with him, you'd feel comfortable. Especially someone who maybe doesn't want their photo taken.
Yeah.
You can very much see how that you just would with him. So it was a crazy experience. And then to see him this year was such a thrill. And he remembered that we'd sat together and had our adventure.
And then we had a Telluride moment, as we call them, right after the screening. The screening's at the Nugget Theater, which is an old movie theater right on the main street of town, Colorado Street. And they didn't have time for a formal Q&A at the end of the showing. So there's a wide space in the sidewalk there with actually a couple of benches. And JR just held court on the sidewalk and a bunch of us clustered around and listened and talked and expressed how much we appreciated his film. And he told us
Mommy was really taken with it too. My mom was really taken with the film. I love and am fascinated by the prison world. I watch every documentary, every series.
Good thing you're married already.
I know, right? I watch every series. I watch all of it because I just think that these microcosms are fascinating, and the worlds that they're in. My favorite thing that my mom said is, like, in the film, the prisoners talk about how they haven't had pizza in 10, 20, 30 years. And my mom very genuinely went, I mean, you can't just get them pizza. You can't just bring these guys pizza once. Come on. How hard could it be? You order some pizza and you bring it in. And I was dying because I had this image in my head of mommy going up to a warden and going, really, you could give them pizza. It'd be okay if they had some pizza. But she has never watched what I've watched. So, because I'm fascinated by the how different countries operate, how different prisons, some of them don't even look like prisons, all that stuff. It has been something for years that I read about, watch everything on. So I loved my parents getting to see this film and then having sort of a similar reaction, going, oh, wow, this is really interesting and I want to know more. And as my mom said, it was one of the first times that she really felt a connection, that she really looked at them as people.
Yeah.
Which,
and actually the film and the art project,
yeah,
sort of, being the locomotive, and the film being
Yeah.
the result of the art project, changed how the guards regarded a lot of the inmates.
Yeah.
It turned a lot of things around.
Yeah.
It's such an interesting dynamic. Really, really, really good.
And that's why I watch what I watch, because it's the same kind of thing. The first time they did a documentary about Shakespeare behind bars, they talked about these different teachers who go in and do that. In many cases, not all, but many cases, the people who do end up in jails and prisons are not educated the way that they should have been, for a number of reasons. And so getting to see them learn Shakespeare, recite Shakespeare, perform Shakespeare, what an incredible idea.
Yeah.
And then to bring that to fruition and have it be something that's gone on for so many years, yeah, it's kind of wild. Show us your pins.
As I've mentioned here many times before, I'm trying not to acquire anything because our house is bursting
full
at the seams. We're full. We're full up.
We're full. No room at the inn.
Yep. But a little pin. What could hurt?
Never hurt nobody.
What could hurt?
Never hurt nobody.
When Alice and I visited Edinburgh, we went to see the statue and memorial for Greyfriars Bobby, who the only reason I knew of Greyfriars Bobby is that Walt Disney made a movie about this little dog in the early 60s with Donald Crisp and Finley Curry, other wonderful old actors. But I could never find anything that related to the movie until now. I found this on the eBay. Yeah.
On the eBay. Teeny tiny Greyfriars Bobby.
And it says Walt Disney.
Yeah. It's a bit blurry, but yeah. Walt Disney's Greyfriars Bobby.
And then scrolling, as I do, some people do crossword puzzles. I scroll. I found this pin, which says,
it says Gaumont British Junior Club for Boys and Girls, GB.
All the way from London came this little pin. My favorite line of dialogue in the 1937 version of A Star is Born is when Janet Gaynor, flushed with excitement, comes to take a room at Edgar Kennedy's boarding house and says, is this place really close to all the movie studios? And he says, all except Gaumont British, which of course is a wonderful gag if you understand it.
And for the 4 people who get it, it's hilarious. For the 4 people who understand, it's hilarious. Yes, Nick, a rare Disneyana piece. Absolutely. Jesse, have you watched the classic prison crime movies from the golden era, like San Quentin, Cage, The Big? Yes. It's been a long time since I've seen them. Especially if you, so living in California, the films, both films and documentaries about San Quentin or Alcatraz are, they're made so much more real.
Yeah.
Because they're here. We've visited Alcatraz. So I don't know. There's something about those movies, and also just any movie that's about those kinds of gangsters who are so famous that even though they've been gone in some cases 30, 40, 50, 60 years, their names still have meaning.
Yeah.
They're referenced in pop culture, that kind of thing. I always say I am fascinated by pop culture. I'm fascinated by what sticks, what phrases stick. We say this, when we see like post no bills or things like that, where if you ask someone, do you actually know where that phrase comes from? Do you know what this means, what that means? And often people don't. And you have to explain it. And the idea that, as I say, something is still used, but nobody knows why. Again, in terms of just people, the fact that there are characters like Whitey Bulger, folks like that, the big mafia men back in the day, how incredible that their names still mean something.
Yeah, Capone.
That Al Capone is something. And that rappers, again, when I'm talking pop culture, rappers reference these people. I always wonder what allows that, what gets someone to a point where people just know who they are. Victoria's asking if you're going to go see the Norma Shearer exhibit later this month.
I hope to get there. My old friend Nat Segaloff has just written a book.
Another book.
The prolific Nat Segaloff has written another book called Say Hello to My Little Friend, 100 Years of Scarface, dating it to, of course, the real Al Capone and his rise to power and notoriety, and the 1932 movie with Paul Muni, and the now 40-year-old
our buddy Al.
Brian De Palma movie.
Our buddy Al. But yeah, that's it. Like Scarface, and that's what I mean. How does someone transcend an era? Bonnie and Clyde, couples reference them. People dress up as them. Again, rappers reference them. You've got Beyonce and Jay-Z, have their song 03 Bonnie and Clyde. Like, what is it that keeps something interesting? Is it someone making a movie? Is it that with Bonnie and Clyde, you have, this movie made that is still quite famous and starred two of the most gorgeous people at the time? Is that part of it? Is that part of why people are familiar with it? Is it just something that gets used enough that people then find out what it means? Do people even know their last names? That's something I always find funny. Is I'll say to someone, do you know their last names? Do you know Bonnie and Clyde's last names? And 9 times out of 10, they don't. They don't know.
Well, then they haven't seen the Bonnie Parker Story starring Dorothy Provine.
But that's it. It's it's these little things, and you just wonder, what is it that caught somebody? Again, as I say, like the mafia, it's not fake. The mafia is not fake. They've made so many movies about it, whether it's a jokey type movie or a serious film where you've got the mafia. Or gangs in general, but then certain types of gangs are left out of that. So the gangs that people seem to want to focus on are the moneyed gangs. They want to focus on people living the lush life because they have stolen or done whatever it is. Yet you don't see reference sort of gangs like, again, we live in LA. You don't often see Crips or Bloods or the Avenues or anything like that. They don't get referenced. Where does it all come from?
Yeah. Well, movies, of course, are so powerful.
Yeah.
A medium.
But what year did the Warren Beatty, Bonnie and Clyde come out?
It came out almost 50 years ago.
Yeah. So, and yet, as I say, it has stayed.
Over 50 years ago.
Yeah, it's got to be more than that. Let's look it up, shall we?
1968, 67, 68.
Yeah.
I get confused.
Let's see.
Because the Oscars are given out.
1967.
Yeah, 67. It was one of the 5 Best Picture nominees in 1968.
Yeah. But as I say, yeah, I just, this is the thing that always comes up to me, whether it's music. My dad I just got Daisy this little music box, and a song was playing on it. And I said, do you know what that is? He couldn't figure it out. And then my dad sat for a minute, and you said,
wait a minute. It's the Unicorn Song by Tommy Makem.
The Irish Rovers.
And the Irish Rovers, the Unicorn Song. Why is that buried in this skull? I don't know.
But you got it.
But I got it.
You nailed it. As I say, even songs. Why are certain songs done over and over again? Mm-hmm. What is it that gets someone? What is it that takes it from being just a song that disappears to being something that's referenced frequently? As I say, just all of it interests me. Were you surprised when years ago Orson Welles called Norma Shearer a bad actress?
Well, I'm always surprised when any public figure expresses an honest opinion that may not be a popular opinion.
Yeah. Have you seen this whole Martin Short craziness?
No.
Oy. Finish and then I'll tell you.
I'm finished.
No, do you think Norma Shearer is a good actress?
I think she's okay.
Yeah.
I don't think she was ever a great actress.
Yeah.
She remade many of Norma Talmadge's movies. Norma Talmadge wasn't a great actress either.
Mm. So this Martin, I'm sure you guys have seen to some degree this Martin Short thing. Somebody came out and said that Martin Short is not funny and they don't know why he has had the career that he's had. And let's see. Yeah, there's an op-ed piece about him not being funny, and people have just responded by going, "You're wrong. You are entirely wrong." Let's see. A Slate op-ed titled "Why We Keep Putting Up with Martin Short" made the rounds on Friday, arguing that Short's over-the-top characters from Father of the Bride to Only Murders in the Building are unbelievably annoying. Writer Dan, it's Kois, I don't know how he spells that, pronounces that rather, reflected on Short's 5 decades in the industry, describing his so-called shtick as exhausting, sweaty, and desperately unfunny. And everybody on the internet went, "You're wrong." And it has been wild to see the responses of people just saying, "Are you
He makes
joking?"
me laugh. He's always made me laugh.
So funny. He's so funny. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Joshy is saying, yeah, his fans had his back. They really did. I just couldn't get over it. I couldn't get over A, that someone would write this, B, that someone would publish this, and C, what did they expect the response to be? Because this to me sounds more like something when you have a blog, not when you write for Slate, but when you have a blog and you go, "I don't like this guy." That's fine. Again, it's your opinion. But to write this whole article saying that he's not funny, and you want to say, all right, you don't have to find all of his characters funny. That's not required. Everybody finds different things funny. But
this is how you get noticed.
Yeah.
This is how you get noticed. This is how you get attention. You say something provocative, deliberately provocative.
Aaron just said clickbait journalism.
Yeah, right.
And it is.
Bingo.
But the thing is this, to what end? Because not only can I not pronounce this man's name, but I now want to avoid him like the plague for having written this. So, why? I don't understand.
I don't
get it. As I say, because you also could have phrased it differently, couldn't you? You could say, "I don't get Martin Short." You could say, "I don't get Martin Short." Of course, no. It's that's not good enough. You want something that gets people talking,
right?
But you're allowed to say, "I just don't get it. He doesn't work for me." But this article and the way it's written is not that. This article is going, "Why have we all put up with this man? I don't get it." Okay. Didn't we all agree comedy is subjective? Absolutely.
When I wrote my book, The Great Movie Comedians, in 1978, I went on a tour. I did a national book tour and did a lot of like Good Morning Philadelphia type shows.
Yeah.
Just before the segment would begin, or right after it ended, the host would inevitably lean over to me with the mics off and say, "I never found W.C. Fields funny." Or they would confide in me.
They tell you something.
Something like that.
Yeah.
And it's like, so what do you say to that? Well,
yeah.
Okay for you.
Yeah. Well, Kevin's saying, I like the phrase, "it isn't my cup of tea." Well, that's the whole, and obviously, look, this is the internet in a nutshell, right? Is that people all of a sudden have the opportunity to yell and feel like they're being heard. You know, and I get it, because everybody wants to feel important. Everybody wants to feel like their opinion matters.
Right.
And that what they say has weight. I get it, understand. But I've never understood the need to go mean with it, the need to attack. Those are the kinds of things that I don't get. And I've also never felt the need to be cruel. So when people go online and they purposely say something and they really go in, and you sort of look and you go, what was the goal? Again, you could start a conversation about what you do and do not like. And I don't find the Stooges funny, generally. Every now and then, but in general, I don't find the Three Stooges funny. That doesn't stop me from letting my dad watch them. He's allowed. You're allowed to watch them. My mom and I just say, just not with us in the room. My mom doesn't like them either. But it doesn't stop us from allowing you your enjoyment. This is true of all things, right? There's different styles of music. There's different styles of everything. This is not the paint color I would have chosen, but you did, and that's fine. But yeah, there is this now. It's like people want to be as loud as they can possibly be and get a reaction.
You get a reaction.
They want to say something that makes you yell back.
Right.
Clickbait. Yeah, it is clickbait.
And if you're not hip to that phrase, it just means
listen to you. My dad's very hip, you guys. Sorry.
No, I'm not. But for anyone who's never heard the term, it means if you see a provocative headline, why we put it with Martin Short so long when he's not funny, you're going to click on that to read or at least skim the article.
See why they're saying it.
And that means you are adding to that writer's audience.
Yeah. Well, exactly. As Chris is saying, I don't get the appeal of Marvel movies or superhero films, so I just move on to something else. Others can enjoy them.
Yeah.
Let's say the next Spider-Man, which I clearly didn't even know the name of. I hope it's good. I like Tom Holland very much. I think he's very talented, and I think he's got great charisma. And, I hope the movie's good. I hope that if we do see it, we like it. That's what I hope. I have no horse in that race. I don't care. I'm not emotionally connected to those characters, unlike my husband, who does read those comic books. So he really hopes the movies are good. He wants the movies to be good because he loves them, which I get. But it's a weird thing to me, the cruelty of people and the insistence that others must also partake in it.
And that's largely a function of social media.
Yeah. As we know,
Arguments have always taken place. Debates of this kind are nothing new.
Yeah.
But now there is an arena that didn't exist 20 years ago. 15 years ago.
Again, I've talked about TikTok. I do find TikTok fascinating, how people can respond to each other and make videos and answer. And obviously when you get into politics there, which I generally avoid, every now and then it pops up. And what's crazy is to see someone asking a question in earnest. I give you an example. This woman made this whole video saying, I don't understand why people don't like Donald Trump. And again, we're not going to get into this, but she says, I don't understand. Nobody can ever tell me what it is they really don't like about him. And a guy responds, makes a video listing all the reasons. And then he says to her, what do you like about him? And she made this very snarky video back at him. And it's like, no, genuinely, the man is saying to you, can you tell me what you like? Tell me what is positive. But the woman who is special, let's say, doesn't have that in her to respond in a way of saying, oh, okay, well, if we're going to have a discussion like adults, here's what I think and here's why. And that's the problem, isn't it? That's always going to be the problem. We'll do one more question here. Lucas is saying, hey, Leonard Maltin, do you or anybody who are film historians who study and research the history and archives of animals and wild animals and trainers and tamers of the movies like Leo the MGM Lion, for example, and also sound effects and I don't understand the question. Sorry. Are there people who just study animals in films? Is that it? Are you asking that? Are there people that only study animals in films? I don't, maybe. I don't know. Everybody's got to have a hobby.
There
right?
you go.
Everybody's got to have a hobby.
There you are.
So yes. I guess there are people who do that.
I have no information about Leo the lion other than they photographed a lion and used him as their. It was actually Samuel Goldwyn's company that first used the lion, and the slogan "Ars gratis artis." And
life is short, art lasts forever. There you go.
And
Ars longo vita brevis est.
And now it's been translated.
Yeah.
In the Amazon era, because Amazon now owns MGM and that trademark. In the new high-tech version of it that I just saw in a movie 2 weeks ago, on Bottoms, it translates, so you see the English language version.
Yeah. Oh,
isn't that nice?
Craig is saying Steve Massa has a section in his latest book on silent comedy animals. There you go.
Good.
Maybe that's an answer.
Good. Well, folks. I see by the old clock on the wall.
That's right. Our time has wound up. Thank you, as always, for joining us. We love being with you on Sundays. We will see you next week. You know where to find us. If you have any questions, comments, concerns. Everybody take good care of yourself, and we will see you soon.
Be kind.